I will just sit here and talk a bit until you can tell me whether or not I'm clicking or whether or not you can understand me. So, how are you doing out there, chat? Can you hear me? Roller says yay. Is that a yay as in all good now? Great. Okay, so we talked briefly before about things being my fault. I am going to say that that is not my fault. That is OBS's fault, and that's who I am going to blame it on. Okay, so as we get back in without the clicking, it's 1933 or 15, one of those couple things. We've got a lot to do as we've got a long way to go and a short time to get there in two different timelines. I think we may begin to see how one affects the other today. Don't hold me to it. Player agency and all. But I'm thinking perhaps we are going to see that. But anywho, let's go around and Finney, if you would, lead us off again. Talk about yourself and how are you feeling about today now that everybody can hear us, hopefully.
As always, I am utterly terrified. Pete is generally running for office, and I think he literally left off running for the door, I believe was Pete's final moments I think it closed, if I remember correctly. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it though. I think 1915 Pete feels pretty good. He's got a cigar and he's got some whiskey, talked with some ladies. So yeah, all in all pretty good. 1915, 33, scared.
Okay, well, good. Scared is a good state of mind. Drunk and scared is probably the best. So 1915 Pete has it on lockdown right now. Let's go over to Don. Don, how are you doing today, buddy?
I feel more anxious than normal, and I don't know why. But I look forward to this all week. I'm really enjoying playing in two different timelines. It's a lot of fun. Barnabas in 1915 is, he's sort of just coming off of the height of his career, and he's optimistic, and he still thinks that you can change the world for the better. And Barnabas in 1933 just wants to go out into the woods with his family and everybody else to go away. He is totally done with all of the madness, but the madness isn't done with him. And I think the last thing I remember from last week was something about an asylum. That's probably why I'm so anxious today. So I'm looking forward to seeing that resolve itself.
That is a good tell. That is a good get, a good remember as the asylum, or at least a facsimile thereof, or perhaps the real one. We're not sure yet, as you haven't been able to fully experience it, is the corridor in which you are currently running in wherever you are in 1933. Kiana, how are you doing today? Anxious? Nervous? Trepidatious?
Yeah. As always, I'm excited and incredibly nervous about everything. I woke up first thing this morning, saw the promo pic, and I was like, great, this is fine. No, it's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see what happens. Hopefully everything's fine.
Crossed fingers always work in Cthulhu. We all know this. Summer, I know that you're chill. You could care less about all this. The chill, calm lake that is chill all the way through. But tell us, just convince me and make sure you just confirm my beliefs. How are you today? I'm
just super zen today. Really just relaxed. Yeah. I have just a little bit of anxiety I'm trying to keep on the sidelines because, I think in 1933, the glass wall keeping the ocean out is breaking/leaking. And in 1915, a woman has mysteriously jumped off the train and none of us know why. And none of us did anything wrong or involved with that in any single way. So I'm just feeling very zen, ready to see what happens.
Right. What better way to be? Because as you stated, that strange event in 1915. I mean, you talk about. Oh, thanks for the raid, RPG Lab. Everybody, welcome into 1933 and 1915 for a little Pulp Cthulhu action. Sit back, enjoy yourselves, hit that follow button. Anybody want to help out these people, you can look down below into the doobly-doo to see exactly what you can give them as far as crits and whatnot, but they don't need them. Don't worry about that. These players can rock without them. They don't need help. Roll20 loves them. They have an in. So before we get into where we're going, let's get into what we're doing as, thank you for the follow, as we go back and see what occurred in last week's episode. A lot of stuff happened, kids, as in 1933, the events surrounding the cylinder, or the device known as the cylinder, came to a head as Aphrodite, the being that was Mimi in 15, becomes Aphrodite in 33. She took it to the cylinder and ultimately knocked it offline. However, before it fully went out, May was able to charge the device, very Frankensteinian, a cylinder with liquid in it that had wires going into it, and as Aphrodite dove into the cylinder to destroy it from within, May was trying to trigger it, and trigger it she did. It proved to be some type of transportation device, as for a brief moment Aphrodite, while housed within the liquid, was transported back to New York City, or a building therein. Back in 1915, several other things happened as the crew was furiously trying to literally put pen to paper for the majority of the episode. They met several people that seemed to have similar designs on the ultimate destination of Constantinople, in which our group in 1915 was given the mission to go to Constantinople, go to the dig site there, and perhaps ascertain what Judeo-Christian artifacts were housed within. It seems that there are several other people on the train with at least a peripheral understanding. There is Lorna Campbell Barnes, who seems to have been Steve, we'll get to that in a second, buddy, who seems to have been sent or on this train because she has found word or belief that in addition to her being a collector of Bibles, that there are Gospels beyond Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. They're not recognized by the church, of course, but they are out there, and they document the time of Christ by people that maybe didn't have as good a publicist as Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then we also met somebody called Maxine Schmidt and her father, Werner, who were sent by the German government as experts to help aid in the dig. Friends were made between the two. Well, Werner and Maxine really didn't like Dietrich, but other than that, they really kind of fell in love with some of the other people and invited many of them to join them on the dig site and to contact a man by the name of John White, who was their contact once they reached Constantinople. But where we ended was this. Mimi had a bit of an altercation with one of the people on the train, somebody that was, I guess they had their eyes on Barnabas. And to make sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that this woman knew that Barnabas was not interested and perhaps taken, there was a bit of a power play as Mimi, a very powerful empath, projected the feelings that wished the woman would just go away and wouldn't be seen again. And as we ended the episode in 1915, the train was stopping because apparently a woman wearing a nightgown had thrown herself from the train. Well, no one else would know, or they would know, but they wouldn't know the altercation that happened between Mimi and this woman. She was wearing a nightgown, and she was told to go away. But as we swept forward at the end of last episode to 1933, Maxine Schmidt, the 20-year-old girl they met in 15, arrived in this mysterious place, this world with this cylinder, with his Frankensteinian creations all around. She saw Pete. She said, "Why did you come back?" and began to run down a hallway. Pete tried to keep up, but because of his leg and the wounds that he had suffered, he could not catch her. And as she turned and opened a door from this extra-dimensional space to what appeared to be the real world, she turned issued one last decree is, why did you come back? And as she closed the door, Pete could see into what would be 1933 Berlin. And he sees somebody looking back at him, someone over the shoulder of Maxine Schmidt. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we're going to start this episode of Project Cronus, as I am going to ask our good friend, Honest Pete Abraham, to roll a spot hidden for me.
Right. This is gonna go awesome.
You do have crits. In fact, I will let you know that I saw something come in from one Steve, who plays Load 'em Up, bro. Everybody gets a crit. So everybody, we had crits come in as a donation during all of that. Your current stands are 1+ everything we spoke about before. That would give you, Finney, 5 to work with, should you decide to do so right now.
I think I'd like to stay right at 4, and since it came from Steven, I'm going to use my eagle eyes to see if I can what I can see.
Okay, absolutely. So as you're standing there and as you look beyond over the corner of Maxine Schmidt, you recognize the world beyond as being the real world. It has air current, smells, the sounds. You see what looks like a library beyond. You can see tables laden with books and papers. And as you look through there, using what is a crit in this game, which gives you a supernatural success, you see a woman standing there that you shouldn't recognize. Her hair is different. Her dress is different. She's dressed as a Nazi officer. She bears very little resemblance to the woman you know her to be, because as you look and as you see beyond the veil of the disguise that she's wearing, for a moment you see the woman for who she is, Cato Callahan, America's flying sweetheart, and a woman that you knew back in New York City. You have 3 seconds, Pete. Is there anything you would like to do as the door closes?
Well, I would definitely yell for Kate as loud as I could possibly muster, even if it were just one long sustained Kate. Just the boy. Yeah, I would just yell for Kate, probably multiple times, like, Kate O'Callahan, it's Honest Pete Abraham. Just because because I can't really give any, I don't really know where I'm at. So it would probably be just a panicked, Kate, it's me, Pete.
And as that declaration goes out into the ether and the void to perhaps be at least received tomorrow night on Project Athena, the door closes and you hear it lock. And the rest of you, May and Barney stood back. Is he moving again or is he frozen? Because Barney, as you look around, you see not the raw kind of silt-covered floors that you had seen before. You are now seeing the hallways of the asylum in which you spent so much time. As you look around, are you capable of moving, or is he just taking this in?
His feet stop moving, but his hand sort of reaches out slowly in May's direction, and the word just kind of escapes his lips. May.
May immediately turns back around and, probably noticing his state, just goes up to him, places the 2 hands around his face. Dear, it's okay, I'm right here.
She would probably recognize this expression when he wakes up in the middle of the night, has nightmares. That's what this looks like. And his eyes are darting around the hallway. Are we really here? Are you seeing this?
Am I, Greg?
Yeah. and perhaps the only other person to recognize this asylum because you visited him here. However, you would never have been allowed back into the depths of the asylum. You recognize the walls, the smell, the floorboard, the kind of directional signs that are up. But because this is back in what would be the residential or where the patients would exist, there would be a social or communal room back in this day where you would have met Barney for visitations. You guys could have probably walked the grounds, gone to the cafeteria, different designated social areas, but because treatment was in progress and privacy, even in this time, was kept for certain individuals, the actual patient rooms would have been off limits.
I see it. Just, dear, just look at me. It's fine. Just breathe in like we always do. And breathe out. It's okay. I'm here.
This ain't real. Can't be. Can't be, right?
I don't know for sure, but whoever this is, we'll get through it. We'll find a way out. And she kind of looks around, probably sees Pete yelling, and also looks at the open door, where she can also hear Aphrodite screaming.
Oh yeah.
You guys are literally in between those two that are shouting as Pete is shouting, and you hear the words, Kate O'Callahan, Honest Pete, Kate, over and over again as you see Pete trying to make his way to the door as it closes. And at that time, as you turn around, you hear a pounding and a wailing coming from what was formerly the cylinder room. And as you two are kind of huddled together on the floor of the asylum, we're going to pan a little bit further down the hall as we go back to the cylinder room. And to redress the scene here in this site of this odd Frankensteinian creation with walls made of wire that kind of spread to reveal, much like a theater curtain, different aspects of the room that it was in. The once dominant feature of the room was a tall 15-foot cylinder, large enough to hold several people shoulder to shoulder. It has been toppled. The fluid that once belonged inside the cylinder spread around the ground, sunk into the makeshift floorboards and against the very wires that powered it. There are some sparks that are coming from the control panel that also fell as part of the decking at the top level of the 15-foot cylinder. And as that fell and crashed to the ground, one of the far walls, however, is nothing but glass or some type of transparent material. And as it is transparent, on one side, seemingly on the bottom of a vast ocean, the floor, the silty, sandy floor, is a man standing, a man that the group knows to be Jack Kilgrave. And as he is standing there, not drowning, existing on the other side of this glass, the being known as Aphrodite, formerly Mimi, is on the dry side of the glass, and she has begun to bang against it. And as we left last time, one of those bangs caused a spider web of cracks and a small bit of water or some type of fluid, whatever this is, to drip into the dry side. We go back to this scene now as Aphrodite. What would you like to do?
I think we all know that when I start to break something, I don't stop until I break it. So that's what's happening here. She pauses for a moment when she sees that she's fractured the glass, and then she just keeps hitting it in that same spot just over and over, and just getting angrier by the second that there's this glass keeping her away from Jack.
So every time you punch, boom, and the transparent material spiders again. On the outside, obviously much slower because of the resistance, you see Jack as he's throwing punches into the same spot from the outside. It's hitting much slower, and it's not doing nearly as much damage. But as your ferocity and savagery and violence against the glass on the dry side, you see this mask on Jack's face as he's throwing everything he can into the punches that go on his side, and boom, 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 and the cracks get bigger and water begins to leak from various points along these spider-webbed cracks as they begin the original splinters get larger and wider until a jet of fluid comes out of the side, and Jack sees that and begins to focus all of his might. You can actually see purple seeping up from his knuckles as he is basically shattering his hands trying to get through. Your hands, however, are perfectly fine as you're punching into this glass from the dry side, once again with a lot more force. And I'd like you to roll one strength check for me, please.
I'll use one of my crits.
So with a punch, I'll take that off. With a punch, for a moment, your fist goes through the glass, and just as Jax is coming to hit the same spot, you meet and you feel his fingers lace with yours. And you feel him squeeze the way that a lost friend or a brother or a lover would squeeze somebody that they had lost eons ago. He squeezes and claws at your hand as if he's trying to bring you out, but you know that in your heart, as you can feel what he's feeling, he just wants to hold you. And it's at that moment that the entire wall gives away. And we're going to cut back over to 1915 as all dry here on the Orient Express. As the Orient Express, to bring everybody back to speed, there are two tales going on here. The very first time this group met in 1915, and perhaps the very last time they adventure in 1933. So back in 1915, they are riding the Orient Express. Everything seems fine and dandy, and they are on their way to Constantinople, but they are not there yet. And now in the middle of the countryside with snow blowing outside in early 1915, a year that does not see the big beginning or the continuation of World War I, for there is no World War in this place. The train stops, and everyone goes around and begins to say that there's a woman, she's jumped from the train. Everyone, and you see many of the conductors that are coming through, and they have jackets on as they kind of rush around and begin to look for ways off the train as they're going down, and they have large lanterns out as they are going down along the side of the train with their large jackets, collars pulled up against the wind and the snow, and they begin to look around. At this point in your block of cars where you all are sleeping, that contains the sleeping sections, you are well aware that the woman that offered the gin to Barney on multiple occasions, when you enter that part, we're going to say you guys are all together right now. The NPCs that you have met, Maxine, Werner, and Lorna, they are back where you left them, or perhaps gone off to their own rooms. But as you guys get to this car, once again, all together, you see that several of the conductors, including your steward, Karim, are right around this room, and it's open. And they all seem to be talking in French, and it seems very edged. Does anyone speak French? Okay. As soon as you guys get closer, you can hear just the emotions coming off of them, as Mimi would be able to feel these: concern, embarrassment, loyalty to the train company, as there seems to have been a terrible accident that could easily be conscripted or looked at oddly by the company as being negligence. So as you guys are watching, and as you walk up, several of the oh my gosh, okay. We have a $30 donation that has come in from Lord Conti, who is 3-gun on Firefly, everybody, on this very channel. I was told that the super secret message was sent to me in Twitter, so no one would know it's coming. I certainly like those things because that enables me to drop the hammer. So give me 1 second while I take a look here. Let's see. Conti, you sent it to me in Twitter, brother? If you did, I'm not sure I got it. Unless I'm not updating. Yep, I did not get it. So if you could send again, that would be awesome. Good. Typing now. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, I will have it ready. I will be alerted when it comes in. So as you guys are sitting there, one of the men comes over and he seems to bear a rank that's a little bit higher than the others. His conductor uniform has several of the gold braids that go from the shoulder to right around the tie area. And as this gentleman steps forward, he looks almost immediately at Barney. And he walks up and he says, Renee Clement, are you Barnabas Norwood?
Good to meet you, Renee. Yes, I'm Barnabas Norwood, Admiral Norwood.
Admiral, yes, Admiral. He looks over at Pete, who's in the same area. Your friend, he has said that you are Admiral. Our inspector on the train, he will be joining us in Venice. He's not here. You are the largest of the highest rank. Despite being of a foreign affiliation, you are the highest rank. We do not know what to do. We believe that there is a woman who has she has met a foul end or perhaps committed suicide, and we need a measure of legitimacy here. Could you... And he kind of motions towards her room. We are unsure of how to begin. We are in between countries right now. We have no authority as part of the French government here, but you hold a standing in the perhaps in the world that could lend that could help.
Barnabas looks down the hall to the room that he's pointing at. Is it the same room as the Djinn woman who he had several interactions with?
It is.
Renee, of course I'm willing to help you, but please calm down and explain to me and my friends here who we're here working together, so whatever legitimacy I have, these men and women here also have. Peter, Herr Dietrich, Mimi, and he looks to May, and May Young.
We all of you can, if you vouch for them, Admiral, all of you can, please, if you just help us. This is, he leans in closer. This is above me.
It's all right, Renee. Whatever's happening, we'll deal with it. What is happening exactly?
We were told that there were several people that saw a woman jump from the train. We think that she jumped at the last bridge. We are trying to go back and by foot see if we can go back and aid her, but we believe that it is the woman in this room. She is wearing nothing but a nightgown, and you can see how cold it is outside. I fear that she is dead, but I hope that it is wrong, but maybe... We don't know if she was thrown or if she jumped or... And he seems completely flabbergasted, like unsure of how to... This seems to be a man that is very used to his arena. You know, the Orient Express, this goes here, that goes there. What are you doing? These are... Fold the napkins this way. You know, all of this stuff. But he is... beyond his realm of comfort, but it's within his realm that he's supposed to have lordship over. And here on the Orient Express, something has gone terribly wrong. He does not know what to do, and he is turning and basically grabbing at straws as a man falls off a cliff. And he was told by your steward that you're an admiral, and that seems to be his out as he has come to you pleading.
All right, Renee, this is what I want you to do. I want you to focus on making sure the guests are comfortable. I want you to focus on taking care of your affairs. We'll take over this investigation. And he now gives a meaningful look to Mimi, because Mimi also had an interaction with this woman. And he's got his, thankfully, pen and paper in hand too. And he kind of folds the paper over in his palm and he says, now, you said there were witnesses who saw her perhaps jump off the train. Is that correct?
Many saw her. Would you like me to gather them up? They are throughout the train, but we can gather them up.
Do you know any of these witnesses personally?
They are all passengers. We have one of the rear conductor. He saw her body.
I would like to speak with him. Let him know that we'll be visiting him shortly. And what's the fella's name?
The rear conductor. His name is Emile Duchamps.
That's quite a name there, Renee. Thank you.
Emile.
Please, like I said, don't concern yourself with the investigation. Just keep everyone calm. We'll handle this as quickly as we're able to. We're not experts, but we are capable, and we'll do our best to make sure we can get this train running again as quickly as possible.
Oui. Would you like us to keep people from coming in here to seal off this car from the rest of everyone else?
He looks around, and for a second, the rest of the group probably recognizes that he's not used to investigating. He's not a cop. Yes, I think we don't want the crime scene to be tampered with, so perhaps we should keep everyone away from here.
Oui. And he immediately busts back into French as he steps away, and he nods, and he seems to kind of disperse the conductors and the stewards that are in your car as they go and take positions at the far end, both ends of the car, presumably to keep people from coming in or out.
Barnabas will go to the rest of the group and say, well, this is a very strange turn of events, and Mimi here knows this. The woman who jumped, was pushed, don't know. I had a couple of interactions with her, and she came on to me pretty hard. Mimi helped me get out of an awkward situation, but I never saw anything that would suggest to me that she would jump, that there was something. She seemed drunk maybe and a little forward for my liking, but normal.
Dietrich steps up and he listens to everything that Barney has to say, and he says, "She came on to you? You mean romantically? She's was infatuated with you?"
I at least, temporarily, on a temporary basis, she invited me into her room a couple of times, offered me some gin. Not really my thing. And, I turned her down as nicely as I could, but that was the extent of our interaction.
A couple of times? You mean every time that you walked up and down this hall?
He thinks about it. Yes, and now that you mentioned it, it was strange that she seemed to almost be waiting for me, so that when I passed her door, she would just sort of lean out and, harass me.
Yes, that's not very strange, but what's strange to me is I've been up and down this hall as well, and she's never offered me any type of romantic overture.
Are you jealous?
A bit, yeah.
I wouldn't be.
Herr Dietrich, I don't think that that's what matters right now. I understand, your feelings, but my main issue is that this train is stopped, and we need to get to Constantinople. I think that there are other forces already moving for our goal there, and the longer we're here, the more time they have to beat us to it.
Yeah.
Mimi looks to Barney and says, "Did you catch her name?"
Oh, I'm so bad with names.
I mean,
I don't-
somebody would know, right?
Well, we could investigate her room, at least make sure that this isn't some sort of foul play, or maybe if it was, if she did jump, maybe she left a note.
Yeah, we could go take a look.
Real quick, Pete being surprisingly quiet during the discussion would probably speak up. Did anyone happen to notice any of these interactions, Admiral, between you and the poor, my assumption would be depressed individual?
Oh, Mimi was there with me. She actually, funny story, she pretended to be engaged to me to get me out of that situation because this woman was so forward. Mimi, you didn't notice anything strange about the woman, anything that would have indicated that maybe she wasn't all right.
Mostly she just seemed rude.
I can vouch for that.
Dare to say belligerent, even?
Yeah,
mentally distraught, if you will.
I don't know about that, but
You had said that she had thought you were engaged. Is that correct, Admiral?
That is the story that we used to get away from the woman. And that's actually the last time I saw her, and it was shortly before she must have jumped or was pushed. I saw her on my way to meet with you and Herr Dietrich in the dining cart.
Well, it is always a sad case when a young lady takes her own life. We just need to make sure that is in fact what everyone understands. And that's free legal advice.
Yes, it does appear that you are committed to developing a case both for and against this woman. Here, Pete.
Well, I'm committed to y'all, but I'm just saying that as my clients, I want to ensure that y'all are found completely innocent. So this distraught young lady obviously made some bad decisions, and the last one, unfortunately, must have cost her life.
How young was she? Was she attractive, or was she?
I didn't. I was not attracted to her. She was, an older, I would say older middle-aged woman.
I don't feel.
Yeah.
I really don't feel like anything of all of this is very relevant to what's happened.
I want to find out what happened to her, and I would like us, to figure it out quickly so we can get moving. But if something was wrong with her, I'm sure she has relatives, people that love her, that deserve to know. Are any of you experienced with investigating a crime scene?
I can't say I am.
I don't have much experience with that, but I have been around some unsavory things before. Either way, we are just making assumptions right now. We might as well go and try to find some evidence or proof, yes?
Uh, Ms. Young, it's Miss, yes?
Yeah, you could just call me May if you would like.
Oh, May. Would you mind taking ahead of this investigation? I know that you have a sharp scientific mind, and if there is any evidence, I feel like you are the best candidate for finding it.
I mean, if you believe so, yes. I can certainly do that. I wouldn't recommend having me talk to anybody, though. I have not had the, I don't have quite the way with words as the rest of you.
I mean, I'll go with you if you want me to.
If you would like, I mean, more eyes on a site is always better.
And maybe Dietrich, Herr Dietrich, maybe you shouldn't speak to the witnesses either.
Why is that?
Pete, well, you know, I think you might be better suited for working with May and Mimi on the actual detail-oriented investigation.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Pete, how are you feeling? You were looking a little wobbly earlier. I'm just, you feel up to a couple of conversations?
Oh, absolutely. I've testified plenty of times, half lit. It always works out fine. I do my best work.
I somehow believe that. Well, maybe while they're looking into the actual room, and Barney's actually maybe even unconsciously taken a couple steps away from the door, like he doesn't want to get closer to it. We could go speak with the rear conductor, talk to the witness, find out exactly what he saw.
Before we all split up and start doing this, didn't you want us to all be together for something? Weren't you going to tell us something?
Yes. Thank you for reminding me. It took me forever to find this pen and paper. This somehow seems disconnected, but maybe it's related to this investigation. We know that we're going to Constantinople to look for an artifact. We don't know necessarily what this artifact is. We know its origin, if it exists at all, but remember that Bryce Lapp also said that there were other organizations or entities looking for this artifact. This train, the Orient Express, it's a beautiful and meticulously kept train. It's almost too perfect. And yet, and he puts the paper down on a surface and begins drawing a symbol. Back there in the dining carts, half hidden behind a seat, was this graffiti. And I don't know if any of you have ever delved into the history of the occult, but it's something of a pastime for me, something of a hobby. Does this symbol look familiar to any of you? And at this point, he's done his best recreation of the purple sign that he found on the wall.
I know a little bit about the occult. Would I recognize it?
You can roll an occult roll for me.
Sure thing.
Yeah, this, while crude, seems to be what would most likely be some type of power sign. It's crudely done. If this is in fact a power sign, there would be much more to it. At best, it's incomplete if Barney has given you a legitimate replication of what he found, which I'm assuming he has. It looks like it would be the start of a power sign, something that could trigger a spell, could be a gateway for a spell, could be something to augment a spell or a ritual's power, But because you guys at this particular time are this removed from the actual occult nature, even with your roles, for you guys, this is all fiction. You know, somebody must believe that this could be a spell, or somebody must believe that, writing these things down, much like, not stepping on a crack to avoid breaking your mother's back, that's the type of approach that you would be taking to this. But just by your research and things that you've learned before, it looks like a power sign.
Well, I wouldn't look too much into this. I mean, if somebody's just doodling on the wall, I mean, there was that little kid. You could see this in any book, fiction, but it looks unfinished to me. It kind of looks like a power sign, if you've ever read about them. But I mean,
Power sign.
yeah, listen, it's probably unrelated to anything. I wouldn't worry about it, really.
The only reason it concerns me is with how immaculate everything else is here, and you saw how tightly wound Renee is. Why would that have been there, left there? And even if it is hocus pocus, even if it has no power, I think it's possible that these other forces that Bryce Lapp is speaking of that are after the same artifact, I think they might be on the train with us. Pete's met a couple of pretty interesting people. I had a conversation, Herr Dietrich had a conversation with Werner Schmidt, who is going to Constantinople on his own dig.
Yeah, yes. Werner was very impressed with me, impressed with us. I believe that he would be able to be a valuable asset, some things I have cultivated going forward.
But yes, yeah, Werner was actually interested in having some of us over to the dig site that he's working on once we get to Constantinople. But if there are people who might oppose us or might be dangerous, I think those people might be around us already. And I know that we have a long trip ahead of us and we just met, but I have a feeling, and I wanted to convey that feeling to you, and I wanted to bring us all together into one place to do that.
Understood.
Well, if we see any other signs of these occult things, and she definitely has like a slight disdain in her voice, we will certainly take note of that. And next time you need pen and paper, and she like holds up like 5 different notebooks. I kind of carry them around with me all the time. For next time.
Oh, thank you.
Well, why don't you go ahead and take one if you're going to be taking down witness statements?
Probably a good idea.
That's good thinking. Yeah, but do you mind?
No. And she just kind of quickly flips through them. It's like, nope, not this one. Like, okay, this, and she hands. It's not completely empty. There's still like some scrawls in it, but she's more comfortable giving you this one.
Thank you, and I'll make sure to get this back to you as soon as I'm done.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right. So a few of us will go investigate the room, and a few of you will go talk to the beer conductor. Yes. And
sounds like a plan.
Reconvene around here, I guess, to see what
Sure.
we found.
Yeah, say maybe 30 minutes.
That sounds like a plan to me.
All right, let's get going.
All right. Come on, Pete. We'll head back to the rear.
Sure thing, Admiral. One thing I would do is, as Pete walks with Barney, there probably would be a moment where he would lean in close to Barney and would probably be like, now, I don't particularly care one way or another. I just need to know, did you have anything to do with it? And do you want me to ensure that nobody knows you in fact did have anything to do with it?
Well, look, Pete, I didn't have anything to do with it. I don't know exactly what's going on here. I don't know what happened to the woman, but I have told you the whole truth. And if anyone asks, I'm happy to tell that truth to them. I have nothing to hide. But thank you.
Oh yeah, well, you know, as an honest man, I understand that truth is always in the eye of the beholder.
Well, sometimes truth is just truth, Pete.
Your word is gold to me, friend.
So as this conversation between Barney and his newly appointed counselor as they proceed to go towards the rear of the now dormant train, since we're right in front of the door to this woman's room, how would May and Mimi like to proceed here?
I'm going in and I'm looking for a suicide note first thing first. It's like
Why don't you
getting
roll
in there.
spot hidden for me? Yeah.
Okay.
Mimi, make sure to, not touch anything too much. Do you have gloves? Gloves are probably a good idea.
Oh, yeah, I've got some gloves. And she has a bag and she'll just fish out. I mean, she had winter gloves or something I'm sure she kept with her. So she'll throw on gloves. Let's see, spot hidden. Big old fail. I don't see nothing.
May's also looking around.
Does not seem to be anything to be like a suicide note here. An extreme. There does not seem to be anything that would look like a suicide note here, May. However, with an extreme, you do notice the following. This woman's room, much like your room, does not possess her luggage. That luggage is stored in a separate compartment in this car. However, it does have the following. Basic toiletries, just hand brushed. There seems to be a perfume bottle. There is a bottle of gin. There is a phonograph, and there are several jazz records. And there's a pair of slippers, and that seems to be just about it.
Okay. How empty is that bottle of gin?
It's almost completely filled. It seems as if maybe 1, 2, or 3 fingered glass was poured out, but that glass is not present.
Okay. Is the window open?
No.
Huh. Okay. Can I open the window?
Yeah.
If I open it and then I just let it go, will it drop automatically?
No.
Okay. I'm writing down notes.
Yeah, Mimi's just kind of standing in the doorway and it's looks like a room to me.
Look, a couple of things. Have you happened to see whoever the steward for this woman is?
Well, they cleared out the whole area, so I mean, but we could track them down.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's the one person that would have regular contact, right? I think that's what it is.
Yep.
Okay.
The steward, you guys have a steward on this floor. Also, there's one other thing that you notice whenever you're going over by the window. You notice just kind of underneath, you didn't see it before from your cursory glance, but it seems to be under the low hanging bunk, as if kind of secreted under there. There are 2 food bowls. And you know this because they are filled with what looks like tuna.
Okay.
Is there a cat in here?
That's what I was thinking in my head.
If you guys are looking specifically for that, I will allow additional spot hidden rolls if you are now looking for a
Kitty. Yeah. Okay.
I don't know
Mimi,
animals.
yeah, Mimi, you snap too, and while you do not find an actual kitty, you do, however, find what looks like kind of whitish, tannish, small hair everywhere, and I mean everywhere.
That's how it is.
Yeah, and you see that there are two bowls, and one of the bowls says Charlotte, and the other says Emily.
Well, it looks like she's got cats on the train, but I don't see any in here. Maybe they got out when everybody was going in and out.
It's either that, or they also went out the window. So hopefully we'll find them somewhere on
Oh.
the train.
I hope not.
Interesting. Okay. Where is that glass? She's been drinking. I don't think would someone just drink out of a bottle of gin? I don't think so.
I mean, yeah, no, they would.
May scrunches up her nose at that. But I would imagine there'd be a glass or something, right?
I mean, she might have taken it with her, right?
That's true. But who would have closed the window?
I mean, there were quite a few people in here before we came in, so maybe somebody.
Were people inside the actual room?
You didn't see anybody. Yeah, you didn't see anybody in the actual room. You saw people that were kind of stationed outside, but nobody had appeared to have been in the room. That's not to say that there wasn't anybody in the room, though.
No, but when we saw that they were talking about it, they weren't in the room. They were kind of hovering around. I don't know why they would close the windows, though, if, they're trying to figure out what happened to her. Unless it just, something else closed it, or if she didn't just jump. I don't know. I'm running into assumptions and conclusions right now. Don't have enough evidence for any of this. Is Dietrich with us?
Yeah, he's just standing by the door smoking.
Yeah, of course he is.
So helpful.
Mr. Dietrich.
Yeah.
Is there any thoughts that you possibly have about any of this?
Perhaps we should learn this woman's name.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
May's going to look at all the toiletries, see if there's any engravings, handkerchiefs, anything that could possibly have names or initials on them.
You don't find anything on the toiletries. However, you do see that on the case that is holding the records for the phonograph, that it is labeled and it says Margaret Bromwell. Bramwell. Margaret Bromwell.
All right, well, I think we have a name. So, the only person that would otherwise have access to her room is a steward, or who would want to go in the room. So maybe if we go find them, whoever it is, see if they went in, saw anything unusual.
I'm not trying to be cold-hearted here, but anything we do, it's not going to really make a difference, right? We're not police. We're not investigators.
I mean, sure, it's not going to, change that she jumped out a window or got shoved or whatever, but I'd personally rather know if there's somebody out here who is pushing people out of the train.
I mean, we were a couple doors down, and pushing someone out a window, that's gonna make some noise, right? And I didn't hear anything.
Maybe she was dead first.
Oh, you think somebody killed her and then threw her body out?
That seems like a good way to get rid of a body on the train.
You don't think we would have heard anything? We were all right down the hall.
It's a busy train. I mean... No, I believe that the two of you would have heard something, but perhaps it was very quiet.
All right, well... Maybe we should see if the gin is poisoned. I don't know. I mean, there's like this much gone and the glass is gone and...
That is a good point.
I'm not even sure how we would, though. I mean, unless you want to give it a sip.
Yeah, I don't think that's the right way around it.
Teacher grabs the bottle and
Oh, Lord.
tops it and just starts to... It smells like gin. Does not smell like it's been tampered with. Cheers. And he takes a sip.
All right. That's one way to find out. How do you feel?
They still hate gin, but
May definitely made like a emotion. It's like, oh, right.
Mystery solved. Gin's not poisoned.
Right.
if I suddenly throw myself out the window, then we know,
We know exactly what happened.
right, it's case closed, as they would say.
Right. I feel like there were other steps we could have. Either way.
This was the quickest.
Yes. And she's just like, okay. And she's like been writing stuff down in her notebook. Okay. So, biggest thing, did somebody close the window?
She's got cats.
Would a cat close the window?
No, I'm just saying that's what we know.
Yes.
Just listing all the facts.
Cats who are missing. There's a glass that's missing. The gin's not poisoned.
Well, what was she doing in here? Maybe we could recreate her last moments.
I'm sorry, I don't really want to recreate her last moments.
I've already had the gin. Maybe what else was she doing? Was she combing her hair? Was she I don't know. What do women do when they are alone? As the softball goes flying for Summer and yeah. Will they swing at it?
Mimi walks over to the toiletries and picks up the perfume and just kind of sprays it into the air. Does it smell good? Or is it nasty?
It doesn't smell like it's not perfume, but this is something that Mimi would not be caught dead in. Whatever is Mimi's least favorite smell perfume-wise, it has just been sprayed out of the bellows of this perfume bottle.
Well, it's no wonder I didn't like her very much.
Kind of stings the nose.
Yeah,
And-
she's a bit much.
How long was it when you from what I understand, you interacted with her, you came to the room,
Yeah.
and then this happened. How long was that?
How long was that, Greg?
Moments.
yeah.
Like,
I mean, a couple minutes maybe.
And we know the doors shut on their own, right?
correct.
not held
You
open.
guys have if it's not held open or tied open, when the stewards are cleaning the rooms or doing stuff for you, they inevitably roll in their track and lock back into place just for safety purposes because of a moving train and all.
I know it's just not going to change the factors of her death, but if there is somebody who I think went into the room and tampered with it enough to close the window and or accidentally let the cats out, in that brief moment, That's suspicious to me.
I mean, I watched her close the door behind her, and I didn't see anybody else inside.
Right.
But I mean, if she was, hollering at men walking down the hall, there's no telling.
But it appears that she was just hollering at Barnabas. She was not hollering at everyone, because I've walked back here several times and she was not hollering at me.
She was going after men more her age. Don't take it so personally.
That's what I've already reached that conclusion.
And she's kind of like just looks at the two of them. All right. Maybe
One of us is taking this seriously.
I agree with you, May. If someone were to have come into the room, either before or after she passed, the door, if there were cats here, then the cats would have left at that time. So that is what I'm thinking.
All right, so Rihanna, cat hunt?
a cat hunt and perhaps to do it if there were any moments where they would have gone by.
I hope the others are having more luck than we are.
Which seems like the perfect segue to go to the back of the train. And as you guys make it to what would be the last car, it has a bit of an observation deck off the back, roughly just like 5 feet by 5 feet, something that people can stand, smoke, watch the train, the countryside pass as the train exits the area. It is back there that you do find Emile Duchamps. He seems to have a kind of a lower rank than Renee, but a conductor he is by his dress. Oui, may I help you?
Mr. Duchamps, yes?
Oui.
I'm Admiral Barnabas Norwood, U.S. Navy, and this is my good friend and cohort here, Peter.
Oui, Renee was looking for you. I assume that you have found him.
Yes, and we asked to speak with you. We're trying to get to the bottom of this as quickly as we can so that we can get the train moving again. Kind of looks a little lost to Peter, to Mr. Abraham.
Yeah, so Pete would go up to, is Emile Deschamps, is that correct, sir?
Oui.
Honest Pete Abraham, glad to meet you. Would go for the handshake with the the arm grip also.
He gets pulled in a bit. Oui, yeah.
So what can you tell us, sir, about this most tragic and unfortunate incident that I'm sure will have very, very negative, unfortunate publicity upon this magnificent railroad?
Something like this has not happened for many years, but people have thrown themselves from a train before. But I saw her when we passed over the last bridge. She threw herself, I believe, from the train, and it seemed to be, I believe she was trying to take her own life. It is my job to report anything that would occur, fall off the train, or in this area. This is my job as a rear conductor.
So a similar incident like this has happened on other occasions.
Not on my watch. Not while I was on the job. But this is my first time of having someone try to kill themselves and perhaps succeed. When you guys get back there, you do see like the lanterns in the distance, you know, a half mile, 3/4 of a mile behind the train along the tracks, as those stewards and those conductors that you saw exiting the train have made progress towards the rear. While snow is blowing and it's cold, it's not deep. So they're making fast tracks as they are not, you know, wading through or breaking through a foot or two of snow.
Go ahead.
Oh, do those lanterns, are they moving away from the train, like they're still heading out towards the body, or do they look like they're coming back as though maybe they found the body?
It looks like they've stopped.
Oh, okay. And how far away, at a guess?
You can't tell, but if your guesstimation is anywhere from 3/4 of a mile to maybe upwards of a mile, which would seem about right for when Emil would trigger an all stop for a train the size of the Orient Express to reach a full stop.
Pete would comment that you do seem slightly nervous, Mr. Deschamps. Can I tell you what? How about just a little nip to calm your nerves? And I am
not nervous. A woman has. I saw a body rolling down the train track. I'm beside myself. I've never seen something like this before.
Absolutely.
I'm turning German.
Tragedy. And I would attempting to persuade him to just have a small nip off of my pocket flask.
He's a little bit beyond persuasion, so this is going to be a fast talk where you're like, here, take it,
Okay.
just take it, just take a little drink, just, you know.
Hard success.
He takes a bit, and as he drinks it down, it seems that it has both a warming and a calming effect on him as he, thank you very much.
And then I would quickly take a look over to Barney and just kind of give him a wink as a like, oh yeah, this guy here, he's a drinker. And are there any nearby stewards that I could flag over for a cigarette for?
You guys are on the back of the observation. Yeah, you guys are on the back of the observation lounge deck coming off the back of the train. So there isn't anybody out here. It seems that at this point, everybody is being kind of corralled into making sure that the guests are taken care of. And if you had a job before the train stopped, after someone has been ejected from the train and it stopped, you have a different job. So if there had been someone back here, they're doing something else now.
All right, I will. I would offer him one of my own cigars as just to calm him down. He's witnessed a lot, and it's unfortunate.
He waves off the cigar, but nods at the overture, and then he pulls out like a cigarette case and extracts a cigarette for himself. Kind of offers it to either of you, and he begins to light it with shaking hands as he kind of takes a pull from the tobacco to stabilize himself.
Okay. Now just tell us exactly what you saw, and take your time.
It is as I said. I was sitting here. I was looking at the back of the train. It was how do you say in English, when I was a boy, we would do the wheel of a cart.
Cartwheel.
Cartwheel. And I could see her in the light. And she was gone.
No, you said that you thought that she jumped, that she took her own life, and that's a purposeful act. Is there anything you saw that? And he leans a little bit closer because he's trying not to incite a panic. anything you saw that would say this is purposeful as opposed to maybe she was pushed?
If she was not screaming. She made no noise. If she had been pushed from the train, I would assume that she would scream.
Barney looks to Pete and he says, "Oh, that's true, that's true. Unless something had happened to her before she was pushed from the train."
I do not know how. I have no proof, but she looked alive when she was close to me. I saw her, the way her body moved. I think she was still alive.
Those men out there, they're bringing the body back, is that right?
If they have found it, they will bring her back to the Orient.
All right, well, I don't have any other questions myself. Maybe Pete might hear, but when the body comes back, will you make sure that we're notified? I'd like to see it. And I'd also like to make sure that, and you can pass this on to Renee, we get this train moving again once they find the body and bring it back.
We. As soon as if they have found her, as soon as she is on board, I will send for you.
So before they depart, Pete would lean in real close to Emil and would just ask, did you happen to have any interactions with the lady, perhaps when you may have walked past any of the betting cars?
I am the rear conductor. I work the rear of the train.
So you never went past past her room at all, is that correct?
I am stationed from here to the social car, but I do not go beyond that, unless requested by Renee.
And was there any such request made?
No.
Pete would offer Emil another nip from the flask and kind of give him a pat on the back, and would slip him also one of his business cards just in case.
He waves off the flask and but nods in appreciation. He does not notice you slip the card into his pocket. That'll be a little treasure he gets later. So yeah, Emil seems to have given you what he can.
Well, thank you for your help, and we'll be in touch, and you be in touch if they find her and they bring her back. And Pete, can we have a word on the way back to meet the others?
Absolutely. I think we should, actually. I wanted to let you know not to worry, because it's always easier to represent the innocent man. It's the guilty ones, though, that pay better.
You think I'm going to be charged? Or...
No. Just speaking as lawyers do. You know how we are.
Right. Well, look, not as a lawyer, but as part of this investigation, I didn't see anything in this woman that said she was depressed. And I know that you never know what's going on with somebody. It's possible she jumped. But if there is something else that happened, if there's foul play here, whoever did this could be out there tampering with the body, covering up what they did. So if we meet the others and they can tell us more about what actually happened or what appears to have happened, we might we might need to go out there.
Whatever we need to do. Trust me, I have no ill feelings, especially, I mean, if it comes down to it, sometimes the best way to gather information is to spread misinformation. And would give like a wink to Barney.
He nods as though he understands what he means, but he doesn't. Right, Pete. Yeah, I trust you there. Well, let's go see what they found. Maybe they've already got this entire thing figured out. I hope so. No, head on towards the back.
Okay, so you guys are moving back. As a freebie, as soon as you guys exit the back and begin your little conversation, when you kind of start walking again, you hear the observation deck door lock from the outside.
Is there a window? Does the door have a window?
It does, yeah.
Barney looks back and puts a hand on Pete's shoulder, looks through the window. Does he see anything in there?
He doesn't see anything.
Why'd he lock the door?
Does seem odd, doesn't it? Can
Barney
we give
goes
a...
up.
Oh, go ahead.
Barney just goes up and knocks on the door.
No answer.
Would call out.
No answer.
Well, that's weird. Takes a pull at the door handle. What's this lock like? How locked is it?
It's a pretty secure lock, as this is an exit from the Orient Express. And this is a rear exit, which means that it's one of the positions that is usually reserved exclusively for at least always having a steward or conductor at it at all times, because this is an exit that's not between cars. The between cars exits, while dangerous, they lead from one door into the other. They have guard lines that are up and everything. This is an area much like an observation booth on a high building, like the Empire State Building, needs to constantly have supervision. So it's not something that can be accessed by the passengers without there being somebody from the Orient present. So it's a sturdy door.
Look, something doesn't feel right about this entire thing, Pete. I think it's time to go back, get the others, get whatever we need, and first off, now we need to find wherever this fellow went, because he was supposed to stay here and wait.
Yeah, more peculiar and peculiar. And I'll follow Barney.
And Barney, before meeting up with the others, I think he would probably stop off at their luggage to grab his packs.
Sure, absolutely. You have your packs. Where are you guys meeting up? At the Bromwell room or your own room, or?
Probably the Bromwell room, just because May is reluctant to leave the room until she's
Okay,
she's probably hovering at the door. As
the four of you get there, Dietrich included, making five, as you guys are standing there, maybe the conversations, this call kind of occurred simultaneously as you all kind of come back together. And as you're sitting there talking about what could be the considerations for the possibility of this and the window and the person in the back, and just as you all get together, and just as Barney and Pete kind of come back up and Dietrich nods, as you're all standing either right outside of the room or in the room, like Mimi and May, the phonograph skips and comes to life, and you hear this as it seems to have wound up, and you hear the kind of tinny sounds of early recorded jazz. You get the as it starts coming through, and it just sounds as if there's music playing, but within about 5-6 seconds, the goes away, and you hear a voice say, Lorna Campbell Barnes. And I'd like everyone to roll a power check for me.
I'd like to crit that.
Okay. Keanu crits. And then it looks like everybody else succeeded, correct? Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So as you all feel that, you feel a compulsion. You're not sure exactly what it is. A few of you have met this woman. Some of you have not had any contact with her at all. That adds for an odd sensation where it's like you're being driven to get into the proximity of a being that you've never encountered. So your mind begins to kind of splay a bit as it's unsure of how to proceed with this command that's been given. The other two that have Pete and Barney, and I believe Dietrich, that have been introduced to her, for a moment everyone kind of sits and rocks, but as you're able to kind of use your own force of will to get past this compulsion, the phonograph skips again and goes back into playing jazz as it whines and comes to a stop. And as it comes to a stop, while you're all able to get past your compulsion and not succumb to what you just experienced, you all do pass out. And so as you all hit the ground in various states of unconsciousness, all save one. Mimi, as you're standing there, having pushed back this urge to find a woman that you have never met, you hear a familiar voice that's coming from behind you. You have set in motion your own destruction.
I haven't even done anything.
Haven't you? Whose room are you in?
It was an accident. I didn't mean to.
Yes, you did.
What do I do?
Your path is set, but perhaps we can lessen the effect. There is someone on this train. When he learns of the death of this woman, it will start a chain of events that will result in the death of Pete Abraham. And we're going to cut back to 1933. And as we cut back to 1933, for a bit of a recap, the aquarium has just burst. The hands of Jack and Aphrodite now have laced together, and for a moment they hold one another as only friends can. And then the power of an ocean sweeps into the space. You are ripped away from Jack. You feel his fingers claw as there's a swirl of bubbles, and even your might, Aphrodite, as you are swept, your lungs not burning as you are not breathing, but you are carried by the force of this mighty ocean at the pinpoint of its pressure power here at the bottom. And as this liquid rushes into the room, you realize it is not what they call on Earth water. It is the same fluid that you were floating in before inside the cylinder. And as it rushes in, it rushes through the cylinder room, quickly filling it all the way to the large domed glass ceiling. And with the pressure from both inside and outside, you see the dome crack in numerous places, but it does not give away its integrity. It's cracked but holding as the pressure quickly normalizes. You are swept against the wall that you entered above the wall, where the door below you came from the room full of windows, and before that, the cavern that you originated your journey in. And as the entire area fills with this liquid, it takes all of about 35 seconds before it's filled and you are floating. There's no sign of Jack.
Yeah. She's gonna swim down to where she last saw him and kind of just like try and get a grip on the floor, and she's just looking for him.
Roll a spot hidden for me. And while you're doing that, I'm going to jump to everybody else. May and Barney, as you guys are kind of clustered together in the middle of this hall, you turn, and instead of witnessing an onslaught of water or fluid as it would rush towards you, you see a bizarre effect as the door at the end of this hall is open, but just beyond its threshold is a rippling surface of held water or fluid. It seems to ripple as if somebody is dropping drips of it horizontally, or maybe throwing a pebble into it, as it just and makes these small waves as you're looking at it. The room beyond is obscured because of the translucent type of surface that you're looking through. Pete, when you turn back around after yelling at Kate, you see the same thing.
Would I need to make an idea check to try to sort of piece together that, oh, she broke the window and the water rushed past, but it's not coming in here?
No. You heard the screaming. You heard the shattering of glass. No idea roll. Barney's smart enough to figure this out without me having to make you guess at it.
Okay. He doesn't see her because it's obscured through there, but sensing that, Mimi must still be out there if she's still alive. He doesn't think that she's that easy, that Aphrodite's that easy to kill. He'll grip May's hands and look up to her, and he'll say, May, when I was up there looking down into that tank, that cylinder, I tried to take away Mimi's power. I tried to stop her. I failed. But for a moment, whatever she is now, whatever that creature is now, went away. I think I saw her. I think I saw Mimi in there.
And May just looks back at the room.
You would have to get closer to see into it.
Yeah, she's just kind of if Mimi's still in there, we should get her back. And Jack is he was out there, and he's probably in here now. Maybe we can see in, see further. I don't know if I can leave them behind again.
Whatever Aphrodite is now, she's dangerous. I want to help her too, May. But we gotta find a way out of here first. Otherwise, every time we try, she's gonna get in our way.
Okay. Let me see where she's at, and I will find. And she looks at the several doors in this hallway.
They're
one of
all
these.
they're all closed.
Yeah.
And as you begin your searching of this hallway in the asylum, we're going to cut back out into the former cylinder room, and with that spot hidden, you see no sign of Jack Kilgrave. However, you do see and spot the tablet that he had been holding up to May. It's come to rest near where the rise of the cylinder unit was. It's kind of covered a bit in that weird kind of silt that seems to be covering that very fine powdery sand that's covering the floor of this ocean. But that's the only thing you see. It seems as if Jack is been swept somewhere.
Yeah, she swims down and picks up the tablet, and then can I see where the doors are open where everybody else went?
Mm-hmm. And it looks bizarre to you because you can see from this side that the fluid is being held by something invisible, but it's rippling. It's almost like looking sideways at the surface, like you're floating in a pool looking back up towards the surface, but you know that your elevation is head to toe instead of lying down, and it's an odd, disorienting feeling even for someone like Aphrodite.
Yeah, and she starts swimming towards the door to get out of this room.
Within a moment, you pass through into the hallway. You're dripping wet, but your hair kind of slumped as it normally is, but you pass through it without any type of restriction, or it's just as if you're climbing out of a bath or a swimming pool. You guys see her emerge from the cylinder. She is holding the tablet, which gets much heavier in her hands, Aphrodite, when you get it out of the fluid, but it's still nothing compared to what would really kind of discomfort you. It's just much heavier without the buoyancy.
Yeah, she drops it and then just kind of like crumbles down on the ground and just starts like sobbing, crying.
You all see all this?
May very slowly stands up and just carefully approaches Aphrodite. And she sits back down across from her, the tablet in between them. And she just places her hands on the tablet, palm up, open. Doesn't say anything.
What is May feeling?
She's feeling a lot of things. Conflict, turmoil, fear, regret, and hope.
And so too is Aphrodite, feeling what May feels. What's Pete doing right now?
Well, Pete knows what he saw, so he is continuing to yell, and probably at this point like hammering his cane against the door, like still, no matter how long it takes, just continuing on. Like, I know what I saw. They're out there, and would just like, if there were a any kind of a seam within the door, like even to the point of like sticking the end of the cane in, trying to pry it, just the almost fanatical, this is a door, and yelling, Kate, just continuing to carry on, smashing his cane up against the door, hollering, yelling.
Okay. So as you're pounding against the portal at the end of the hallway, still stuck in the middle of the hallway in his former asylum, is Barnabas Norwood. When you look around, Barney, you realize that you have stopped directly in front of the door to your old room. And as you're sitting there and as you're taking in the scene of both the arrival of Aphrodite, the screaming of Pete behind you as he's attempting to escape from this place, and as you look at this door where your mind was stitched back together, you hear the voice of something that started to pull the threads many years ago. You dreamed with me, Poseidon. After your rebirth from that vessel, what was it called?
The main.
The Main. 258 souls cast to the deep star. A powerful sacrifice. The start of a much larger ritual. Together we dreamed. But you don't remember, do you?
Barnabas doesn't answer immediately. Numb, can't hear Pete pounding and shouting, doesn't see for a moment May and Aphrodite in the tablet, and stands up, goes over to the door, grabs the handle. I need to remember. He pulls open the door.
And as he pulls open the door, he remembers a bit of the dreaming, a bit of the time after the explosion on the Main. But perhaps it's a bit of protection as the door opens. He doesn't remember all of it. He simply remembers one word. The being that was speaking to him, the being that he dreamed with. Cthulhu. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we are going to end this episode of Project Cronus. Yay!
Great!
Alrighty, everybody. So we're going to go around in reverse order, see how everybody's doing. So we'll start with Summer. Summer, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing great. Having a really good time. No big deal. Just wrote Cthulhu in my notes. Yeah. Wow. We had a really good day on the train, and we're gonna get some cats, and we're not gonna talk about 1933 ever again. We're just gonna hang out in 1915 until we figure out what's happening. It'll take me a while to process how I'm feeling right now. That's all.
Good. Great. And where can we find you?
You can just find me casually dying. I'm on Twitter at Just a Summer Job. It's pretty much where I talk about everything I do. I have a channel here called Off the Table. That's off_the table. And we stream Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We play a bunch of different games. Find me here on Saturdays. And then tonight I'll be with Kiana as we start our Dungeon World campaign at 5 PST over on Anaresis. It's going to be super fun. That's going to be a big transition to make in my brain, but I'm ready for it. This is amazing. You guys are the best.
Awesome. Please check out everybody. I'll link them in the chat. And let's go over to Kiana. Kiana, how are you doing today?
There's a lot of things happening. a big part of who May is that she likes to solve problems. In 1915, that problem might be solvable. This one, in 1933, she's torn in about 5 different directions, trying to figure out how to solve everything at once. So there's a lot of internal conflict there, which is really fun to play and very stressful. But that's the fun part of it, right, guys? Just telling a story that, damn, has quite the emotional swings to it.
Kiana, I love that. That's the fun of it, right, guys? Right, guys? Right?
No, I love this. I love this cast. I love this crew. I love this story. And we'll see what happens next week. I don't know if I'm ready. I don't know if I'm ever ready for it. But until then, you guys can find me over on Twitter at KanaS. Best way to catch up with me, find out what I'm doing, because I'm all over the internet, everywhere. Just going through a quick thing of what I do. I'm on a podcast called Lays Lane Dragons, which releases new episodes every Sunday evening. We're doing a special month all about visual representation, recorded really cool interviews. So please check us out over on Twitter at Lady Slay. On Mondays, I'm over on Encounter Roleplay, playing Atomic Cthulhu with Greg as my keeper. My second character died. This is fine. I may just be a little bit salty, but that's okay. On Tuesday, I am over on WebDM, also with Greg, where we're fellow players in a Spelljammer 5e campaign. On Wednesdays, I'm over on Scoticus channel, where I DM One Shot Wonders, a series of one-shots with viewers, anybody who wants to play, in a new setting every month. We're doing Feywild this month and Dark Sun next month, so definitely check that out. And as Summer said, we have a brand new Dungeon World campaign that's starting up tonight. It's going to be a complete swing from awkward, smart May to social, talk away in and out of everything, not really that smart bard that I have tonight. So if you want to see me being extra as fuck, that's where you're gonna that's where you're gonna find it. So, and then here every Saturday,
You sound like you're doing community service in here every Saturday.
No, I love this.
If only I hadn't been caught
I'm
drinking.
going to take some time to process what the fuck's happening.
Right, so make sure you check out tonight for something extra AF. Love it. Love you guys. I'm going to go down to Don. Don, what'd you think, buddy?
Yeah, I loved it. This is I've liked every episode a whole lot, but this is my favorite one so far. Got to do some investigation back and got to draw some pictures, and everything just went even more crazy in 1933. That situation's out of control. It's not getting better. Yeah, I can't wait for next week. I don't know what's happening, but Cthulhu is named, and that's bad. It's pretty bad. And in the meantime, you can catch me on Twitter at Donathan Fry. I play a bunch of different games. I'll shout out Tomes and Tentacles podcast. If you don't watch that, or listen to that rather, it's a Call of Cthulhu podcast I do with Greg. And it's awesome. At Tentacles Pod on Twitter. A bunch of episodes. The season's starting to wrap up, so now's a good time to get into it if you haven't listened yet.
Absolutely. Ben Counter, at Ben Counter on the Twitters, is absolutely fantastic. The man is always in perfect voice and perfect description. He was born and bred in a test tube somewhere to run Cthulhu. He is fantastic, and please check him out. I am in awe every time the man constructs a sentence, because he does it in a much better way than I do, without the uhs and the ums and the terrible accents. But speaking of somebody that is always on point and ready to defend their fellow PCs from both eldritch horrors and litigation, let's go over to Honest Pete Abraham, Finney. Finney, how'd you like it, buddy?
I was fine until I heard the words, "the death of Peter Abraham." No, I had a blast. Again, awesome cast to work with. They're all great. I love everybody, how people working off of each other. I think that's really what makes it. I think Pete's suspicious. He doesn't quite know, because he's represented plenty of people who said they had absolutely nothing to do with whatever they were being charged with. So it's pretty run of the mill, but yeah, I had an absolute blast. I think I would double down on what Don said and say this might be the favorite episode so far.
Nice, brother, nice. And I will throw your link up there. Please follow my man Finney. Anything else you want to say, brother, before we any parting words for the constituents out there?
I'm terrified. I am utterly terrified. And vote Pete Abraham because it might be the last time you get a chance to.
Right. And the only thing you have to fear is fear itself, but I'm terrified. Vote Pete Abraham.
There we go.
I'm one of you. Right. Awesome, man. Awesome. Okay, so as for myself, Grimjack21502 on the Twitches and the Twitters. You can find me here. You can find me there. You can find me, as mentioned before, about anywhere. But I want to tell Lord Conti out there with the donation, Cthulhu is the start. I have an idea that happened after you left that I want to run by you because I think it works and it's a little tweak on what you wanted. So we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss, Lord Conti, and we will bring it up next Saturday for these wonderful people to experience the horror of something that you have wrought, and we will put our heads together in the lab and see if we can make it even worse. But anyhow, you can find what's going on with the channel, Grimjack. Well, I'll tell you, on Fridays from 12 to 2, we do Conan, Age Undreamed Of. And then from 2 to 4 on Fridays, we do Firefly, Tales from the Big Damn Verse. You can find us here every Saturday from 2 to 4, doing a little bit of that Project Cronus of Pulp Cthulhu fame. But then tomorrow night, if you want to see literally what's going on the other side of the door, tune in tomorrow night, Sunday, from 7 to 9 for my other Pulp Cthulhu show, the one that started it all, Project Athena, where the voice of Pete Abraham should reach the ears of some of the players on that side. But I can tell you, we had a lot of donations last week, and something big and something wicked this way comes tomorrow night. I'm looking forward to it as only a gleeful, sadistic keeper could, which means to say I'm really looking forward to it. But other than that, tonight you can find me on the Greyhawk channel doing a little Valley of Soot and Skull. We begin at 9 p.m. this evening. Other than that, Encounter Roleplay, Tomes and Tentacles mentioned by everybody else, but chat, you are fantastic. You are there for us, and we do have a boon coming for Mimi as well. I know that Catalyst has a boon coming up. I'm saving that because it kind of goes hand in hand with the nonsense I'm bringing up with Lord Conti's. I like to make them work. I like to think about them so you get the most bang for your buck, everybody. If you doubt it, check out tomorrow night when I rip holy hell on that group. I'm looking forward to it. They're going to hate me. This group loves me because they show up early and I get all the cameras set up, but that's neither here nor there. What really is this is 1933, everyone. This is 1915. This is in the past, but you are here with us going through hell and back, and we love you for it, and we can't wait to see you again next week. And until then, you know what? I think we got the better end of the deal with 1933 and 1915. Eldritch horrors aside, Cthulhu aside, 2018 kind of sucks. So I hope it doesn't suck too much until we see each other next Saturday. Until then, take it easy.